Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show.
Esther Inman is CEO and founder of Virtual Assistant Internship. Esther quit her corporate America job 6 years ago when she realized it wasn't suitable for a military wife and mom life. She started working from home as a virtual assistant and couldn't believe this simple, low-entry level virtual career was completely unknown by other military wives, moms, or travel lovers. She's been running her six-figure online agency ever since and has her own team of 8 other virtual workers. She also runs online programs helping other women launch their virtual work life too. Esther is a full-time digital nomad currently living with her 8-year-old son and her veteran husband in Canggu, Bali. Esther, welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here because this is something that I am very passionate about.
Awesome. Well, tell us more about who you are and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so I think that people want the story to be more glamorous than it is, but I actually love that it's not because it's so much more attainable. So I think that sometimes we see people that are living in Bali and I'm traveling all the time. And, if you're looking at travel influencers, Instagram, you just get to see where they're at now. But I really like to tell the ugly part of the story, the beginning part, because everybody started from somewhere.
Awesome.
And I was just a normal military spouse, a normal mom. My husband was active duty Marine Corps. My son was 2 years old at the time. I had gone to school to be a teacher and I taught for a while, and then I was working in corporate in training, and I really loved my job doing software training. I enjoyed it very much. But like most people find, you have kids or you have a spouse who's gone all the time, or you're a single mom trying to juggle it all by yourself. Corporate America jobs in America, or really, pretty much any job in America, you get no time off. If your kids are sick, it's a huge scramble. You only get 2 weeks of vacation a year. It was honestly impossible to try to keep up. And I was like, this is my life now. This is what I went to college for. What I worked so hard for is just so that I can commute an hour each day before the sun comes up, go to work all day, come home, bathe my child, feed my child, kind of watch TV for an hour, and then go to bed. And then on the weekends, we're just going to clean and run errands. Like, this is it. I knew that we had more. Like, I knew that there was something more for people and that this couldn't just be it. And I kept seeing people that were working from the beach and working online. And I grew up with an entrepreneur dad who was around a lot because he was an entrepreneur. And so I was like, you know what? People are figuring it out, and I don't know how they're doing it. I have no idea how they're doing it, but I'm going to trust God that we're going to figure it out. And so my husband and I talked about it. I literally put in 2 weeks notice, quit my job. We didn't have a huge safety net of savings, but I was just miserable and crying all the time and really depressed because I was like, this can't be it. This cannot be my life. And so that basically kind of kicked things off. I started as a virtual assistant. I went from like a $65,000 per year job and all these benefits and perks, and I was like making $20 an hour, but I was happy because I had way more flexibility in my life. And then pulling your kid from daycare and not having to pay so much for all this extra stuff that you have to keep up a career, I ended up like honestly making almost the exact same that I was making before by the time it was done.
That's awesome.
So it just continued to kind of grow from there.
I'm so glad you're sharing the ugly truth, like you say, because I think people see that you're in Bali and it's Bali, pretty exciting, but there is work behind. And as you said, there's a journey that took you to Bali. And some of that ugly truth, too, is probably with childcare. To be a stay-at-home mom, mompreneur, right? And to get things done. How did you manage that while having your child now at home with you and working from home?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions about this. And one thing that I really like to share also is that women, if you're listening, you have permission to not want to be a stay-at-home mom and not enjoy being a stay-at-home mom. I think that that's something that we don't get told enough. And it's almost like you have to choose this corporate career and be gone all the time or choose being a stay-at-home mom. And that is just not true. There is so many things that are in between now and that are kind of afoot in both worlds. And it's going to constantly be a balancing act, but you can figure it out. A whole bunch of us have and are. How I did it was my husband kind of would cover the evenings a couple nights a week when he could, kind of a thing. I enrolled my kid, when I was making money, I got paid, like I said, 20 to 30 bucks an hour. So I was not making money. And I just enrolled my child in a part-time amount of childcare. And those hours, I got a lot of work done. And then he would come home and he would have a nap for 2 hours. So really, I had like 6 hours a day of time to work. And I was just paying for a very little amount of childcare. And then you can kind of work things out with a spouse to say, hey, 2 or 3 nights a week, can you do bedtime dinner and bedtime routine so that I can get a couple hours done? Then after your kid goes to bed, you have time. And then for going television, you end up realizing you get like 20 hours back in your week. And then Saturday and Sundays, I had time too, because we were just kind of sitting around watching TV on the mornings and the weekend because my husband was tired after working all week and stuff. So, I can just sit on the couch and get some stuff done. So it really ended up being a lot easier than I think people think.
Awesome. So tell us some highlights from once you became a CEO in terms of building your team and scaling your business.
Well, it continues to be quite a journey. Scaling to a 6-figure agency is hard. It was really difficult. It's a lot of mindset work. So it's a lot of realizing like, wow, other people are charging this amount of money for the same services that I'm providing or for worse services. What am I doing wrong? Why can't I be charging that? So a lot of it's like mindset issues and being able to charge higher end prices. And it's important to charge the higher end prices because that's the only way that you're going to be able to scale and grow, because that's how you're going to be able to afford hiring a team and to afford being able to get more. Like the only way that you can get more clients is how you have more time. And the only way that you're going to have more time is by having a team to help fill in. So it's not just me doing, my agency built online courses. And so it wasn't just me writing the scripts, making the slides, making the worksheets, making the online course site, editing the videos and then putting it all in there. Slowly I started having other people take on those different chunks of work. And then eventually, okay, well, now we're building multiple courses for multiple clients. Okay, well, now I need a project manager because now I can't possibly even manage all of this. So it was really outlining what kind of stuff, like where you really want to go and be and what kind of money it's going to take to get there, and then pricing stuff accordingly. And that's kind of how you get up to that mark. There's so much more that goes into it, but that's kind of the overall. I think it's easier than people think. And it took me longer than it should have because of the mindset stuff. Like I could have gotten to 6 figures years ago and I kick myself for waiting so long.
Where do you think the acumen comes from? Is it from, I know you mentioned before your dad is an entrepreneur. Where does this acumen come from and drive to succeed and to sort of lay out the plan and think strategically like you are to have this successful 6-figure business?
I don't think that it had much to do with my family because my dad kept his business really private. And even to this day, I don't even totally know what he did. So I don't know that it was that. Okay. I will say that I'm a pretty driven person and I'm very good at being self-directed. So that's just some of my personality and some of just who I am. But I think the other part is I got really clear on what kind of lifestyle I wanted to lead. I wanted to have help with my kid. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to not have to work and be gone all the time. I really got clear on what I wanted my day to look like, on what I wanted my life to look like, my marriage, my motherhood, all of it. And once I had a clear picture of that, then it was understanding that that was possible and that that can happen and that people really are doing it. So once those two things are happening, then it's just a matter of like, okay, well, what are the steps and pieces that we need to put together to get there? Then it was just like a clear path from there.
So what do you think was the career defining moment that signified to you that you were in the driver's seat for your career?
Again, it's the ugly part of the story. So we haven't even gotten to this part yet, but
okay.
After my husband got out of the military, he ended up having some pretty serious mental health issues. And it got so bad over time that he had a traumatic brain injury induced like just a total mental health breakdown. And my son and I ended up having to leave. And so I literally had to 100% count on my income at that point. I moved into a furnished studio that was pay by the week. And we had to move out of our beautiful 3-bedroom home. And my car had gotten repossessed because he wasn't making any money anymore. And he made some money, but from like unemployment, but disability hadn't been set up yet. And he wasn't able to work because he had so many issues. And I could hardly work because I was taking him to and from the hospital and just dealing with everything that it takes to run a family and move out of your home and lose your entire life. It was a horrible, horrible time. I never want to relive it.
Right.
But that was what showed me that because of all that, I ended up I had to dig in, and it was the first time I made $10K in a month. That was the first time that I had that big of a month in my business. Was a couple months into that happening and me being on my own after having to leave my husband and living in this little studio. And I just put in the work, and I had to make money, and I had to figure it out because I had nothing else anymore. And when I did that, that was when I saw the most success. And that's what ended up leading us to Bali and continue to grow into the 6-figure agency. All of that happened after that. That was the defining moment.
That is odd. I hate to keep saying awesome, but it just is an incredibly inspiring story that I'm sure will inspire our listeners just to keep going, and that success is just within their reach, is what I'm hearing. What would you say is the formula for successfully owning your career?
One of the couple of different things that has really helped me has been once I started realizing that the people I looked up to, so it's important to have some mentors and have some people that you look up to and that you kind of really want to strive to be like, because then you have a picture of what that could look like for you. But one of the things that I learned about watching them was I started to realize, oh my gosh, the only difference between them and me is that they didn't give up. They just kept going, and they're just a few years ahead of me. That's it. And then all these other people that are like, oh, I couldn't figure out how to work from home, and I can't get my online business to work, and blah, blah, blah. That's because they gave up and they stopped. So that once I realized that, it gave me so much more of a drive just to keep going. And that's the stuff that I told myself when I was laying in bed, depressed, crying because my marriage and my family was over and I have no job and blah. It was, you know what? The only difference between me and them is that they didn't give up. So I'm not going to give up either. And that helped me a lot.
So mindset. So again, back to that comment about mindset, really knowing that you can and will be successful. You have no choice but to be successful.
Right.
You'd say
there's no fail. Yeah, there's no fail. There might be some like, oh crap, I got stuck on this step, or oh crap, I took a wrong turn and I'm back where I started. Or oh, this didn't work out. Like I still to this day have things that quote unquote fail, like launches and products I try to do and they kind of don't go so great. But I never look at them as a failure. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I invested some time into building out those web pages and we're going to reuse them again for something at a later date. You know, like nothing is really a fail. It's just kind of a little blip on the journey up the mountain.
Love that. How important would you say has risk been, or taking risk been to your journey?
I don't really consider myself a risk taker because when it's like I've never had credit or had people invest in my bit, like I've never done anything like that. Everything's been just cash only. And so to me, taking risks has been really scary because it's like, oh my God, if this doesn't work out, then we don't have money. How are we going to pay our bills?
Right.
But I'm getting better at it now. I think I'm getting better at starting to look at things not really as risks, but as investments. So that's one thing that I have a program that teaches women how to be a virtual assistant in 9 days or less, right? And a lot of the women are like, oh, I'm so scared to join it and it's so much money and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you really have to start to flip your perspective on things like that. Like, let's say that it's education and something that's going to help get you to the next level, or if it's a software, and start looking at it like you would a college degree. Like it's an investment into getting me into the next step. And the things that I've invested in that, I think about them. I, take the time to make sure it's a wise decision. Is this going to be a step that's going to get me to where I want to go? That life snapshot that I want my life to look like, is it going to help me get there? Okay, well then, yeah. And sometimes I'll even so right now we're putting together a big work from anywhere online summit. Really cool. But it was an investment for me to pay my team to work on this project, not knowing how much money I'm going to make from it and just being like, oh my God, I hope it works out. So there's stuff like that you kind of just have to do it. But of course, I waited. I was like, okay, well, how much money do I have to make in sales to be able to pay the team? And I do some of the math to take out that riskiness level and just look at it okay, well, this is an investment in the future of my business, the future of my company, the future of the lifestyle that I want to lead. So just kind of flipping the switch and looking at things like that.
Yeah, I would say it sounds to me, or in terms of language, that's a calculated risk that you're taking, But, as you told your story before, I heard risk in terms of you quit your job without a job.
Yeah,
and you picked up and moved to Bali. I mean, that's quite a far ways away, right?
But I think even Bali I knew that it was, again, going to be an investment because the entrepreneur community there is so huge and I needed somewhere to heal. So to me, I was like, this is going to be a really good thing. And then I always go to, same thing when I quit my job, what's the worst that's going to happen? Because I have anxiety issues, okay? So I've done a lot of mental health work over here. What's the worst that's going to happen? I get to Bali and we don't like it and we fly home. Okay. That's the worst that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Same thing with quitting my job was okay, well, the worst that's going to happen is I'll go get a job at Starbucks to help us get over the hump until my work from home ventures, however that's going to look, because I had no idea at the time, it kind of takes off. And you know what? I know that I can get a job there. I know it'll keep the bills paid. So that's kind of how I do a calculated risk, like you just said.
Why Bali? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. So first of all, Americans because we don't get a lot of time off to travel and because Bali is 24-hour flight away, we don't really go there or know anything about it. But Bali is like the Hawaii for Australia. So all the Australians go there. It's only a 4-hour flight from Australia. It's packed with expats and Australians and it's like Hawaii. The weather's perfect every day. It's absolutely beautiful. It's the number one tourist destination in the world right now, actually. But Americans it's not even really on our radar. And the reason that I wanted to go was I knew that it had a big digital nomad entrepreneur community of people working online and being based in Bali because they had some great co-working spaces there. They had cool entrepreneur events going on. And then people love the lifestyle because of your money goes so much further there. The American dollar or whatever dollar or, euro, whatever you're getting paid in, it goes really far because you're in Asia. So I have a full-time staff person that cooks, cleans, and does childcare for me for $300 a month. And so when I was a single mom, right, my husband's going through all this stuff, I was like, wow, what a great place to land. And for me to be able to be surrounded by an entrepreneur community and have help with my kid and have a place to heal. It's also a spiritual and art capital of the world as well. And so it just has a lot of really amazing things there. So yeah.
Listen, I want to go to Bali now. That was a curiosity question for me, but it sounds really good.
It's amazing.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Well, tell us about, if you can think of a moment in your career that you avoided responsibility.
This happened for a long time, actually. There was the first years of my business, one of the reasons that I had a hard time getting quote unquote successful. Well, I use that in terms of making the money that I wanted and needed to be able to make. One of the reasons why was because I had a really hard time talking to clients about money and dealing with money head on in my business. I've always said, I'm not good with money. I'm not good with numbers. I was terrible at math. I cried through every math class in school. My bank account was always almost in the negative or just bare. I was getting overdraft fees. That was just, and I didn't grow up poor or anything. So it was just kind of me. And so I had this kind of thing stuck in my head that I wasn't good with money. And so then dealing with clients that didn't want to pay up front or are really late on payments or don't want to pay what it requires for me to pay to get the project done. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll just do it anyway. Like I had a lot of issues in that area. And to me, that really was just avoiding taking responsibility and ownership over my money. And now that I've done it, I just spent a lot of time in the last year. I hired a CFO and she's helped me immensely. And that has completely changed. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why we've made so much money is because I know exactly how much my stuff costs to do. So I know how much to charge somebody. If they don't want to pay it, cool, I'm not going to do your project. I don't care. I know exactly how much our profit and losses are. I know how much our expenses are. Like I have a very clear understanding of our money and we're not late on bills anymore and have issues like that. So it's been life-changing and I can't avoid responsibility. I'm actually talking to my old student loan people now because I avoided paying that for years. And now I'm like, you know what? We're going to pay it. I'm not afraid anymore. Here we go.
Can I just say that I love your transparency and authenticity? It's refreshing, honestly. So thank you for that. Okay, great. What advice would you give to someone wanting to successfully own their career?
You have to get really clear on what you want to do. It doesn't have to be clear on like how you want your day-to-day job to look because that's going to manifest as time goes on. But like what I said before about what do you want your lifestyle to look like and freaking dream big. Okay, if you want to be living in Bali in a villa with a full-time staff member and go to the beach for your breaks and walk your dog, then fine. But like go for it because the only way that you can figure out what you want to be doing is to like actually get a clear picture of what you want your life to look like. And it has to be away from your cultural expectations, what society is telling you it's supposed to be, what's not possible for you, what your parents say. Like when we said we were going to move to Bali, everybody told us we were freaking nuts. And people thought I was going to get like human trafficked and then it was crazy. And how your kid going to go to school? And what are you going to do about this? And what about health insurance? And blah. And that could have stopped me. But I had a very clear picture of what I wanted my life to look like. And I had a very clear idea of my escape plan, right? So if it doesn't work out, all right, we got plane ticket home, no big deal, you know? So that allows you to be able to design a career and design a life that is aligned with it. Because life is about life. Your career can be an incredible part of that. I love what I do. I look forward to Mondays. I take the weekends off. Now I didn't for the first years of my business, but now I do. And I'm still just jonesing for Monday because I'm like, I got so many things I gotta do. and that's the kind of thing that you want to create. But until you get clear on how you want to be spending your time, where you want to be spending it, how you want it to all work together, you're never going to be able to make it happen. It's just going to still be this weird, elusive thing. Well, I want to make all this kind of money. Okay, well, why? What do you want to be doing with that money? Like, how do you want to be making that money? Like, there's so much more that goes into it.
Well, who is a part of your success team? I wanted to ask you when you were answering the last question if you do coaching, but then I thought, what does her success team look like? Who is holding you up to continue to be successful?
So besides the whole year that my husband had mental health issues, which was devastating. But besides that, my husband, even though he wasn't around because he was in the military a lot, he's been a really big support person for me. He was the one who said, quit your job. It's okay. We're going to figure it out. You're so unhappy and we're going to figure it out. He was the one who, when I was having money issues with clients, he's like, honey, you need to send them an email and make them pay you or stop work. Like he was the one who was that person. And even now, you wake up and you want to quit so many times in this journey. All the time it happens. Sometimes more than once a week. I'm like, I can't do this. Always there, like, come on, you're almost there. And I remember actually like 2 years ago, I wanted to quit and close my business and just get a normal job because I was tired. It was hard. And he was like, you're almost there. You're like on the cusp. I can feel it. You feel it. Just hang in there. And so he's been emotionally and, financially supportive because when I didn't make enough money, he's not, upset with me that month or something like that. He's like, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. What do we got to do? So that's been, the emotional part of it. I also have a mentor, of course, that I look up to, and I'm in a mastermind of other people that do online business like me, and they're a big support team for me. Again, not just emotionally, but I think strategically as well. And I have my own team. So I have a COO. Her name's Daya. She's freaking amazing. I have a CFO. Her name's Morgan. My team is around the world. They're awesome. I have a graphic designer, and she is a graduate from my own program. And now she lives in Bali too, and we're best friends.
Wow, that's
her
awesome.
boyfriend. Yeah, her boyfriend works for me too, and he's a web developer. And it's been fun to watch him start his web development journey from zero to hero now too. And I have a bunch of interns that I always take on from my program to give them work experience. And then because I've created I have 200 women in my program, and I run like over 6,000 women in my Facebook group and stuff. So we really have like a entrepreneurial spirited community. And I don't always say entrepreneur because a lot of these women, they work online in different kinds of capacities. Not all of them want to start a business. So they work for companies as a virtual assistant, or they might work for 2 clients and that's it. Long term, sometimes it doesn't look like entrepreneur life, but they really all support each other. And I kind of get to be the center of the wheel for that, a little hub. And we get little get-togethers and just kind of encouraging each other and lifting other people up. It encourages you and helps lift you up too. So being able to give back and help kind of helps yourself.
That's great. You have an awesome success squad.
I do. That's a good name for them. They're amazing.
Yeah. I just had a guest that she's episode 6 at Becky Mollenkamp, and she was talking about masterminds as well. So I definitely believe in the power of masterminds and how it can elevate your game, even if you're not an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. That summit that I mentioned that I put together, this Work From Anywhere summit, we got like over 20 people in it, and it's featuring all these different legit online jobs and all these different ways to remote ready your resume and find jobs and blah, blah, blah. And that summit, I'm telling you, it's like majority of people from my mastermind and they all have big audiences and they all have something to contribute as well. So I wouldn't have been able to even put something like that together unless it was for them.
Awesome. Well, tell us about resources, online or otherwise, that you have found to be helpful to you in your career.
Yeah, gosh, there's so many. I guess like one thing that I will say is that I really didn't feel like there was actually enough out there about this industry and this niche, which is why I set out to create some. There's a lot more now, which is amazing. But in the beginning, it was really frustrating for me because I was like, how do these people not know what a virtual assistant is? Like, how come I have so much work and all my friends are still trying to sell like wraps and protein shakes? And they're like, this is the only way I can work from home. And so that was part of why stuff has gotten created. I will talk about my class first. I have a free class on what a virtual assistant is and how you can get started. People can go to 90dayva.com for that. Totally free. There's a workbook that goes with it. It's very, very informative and really helpful. And then my program that I was talking about, I will talk about that in the webinar at the end of it too. But there's so much information in there. And it can be great because if you're like have this big vision for an online business that you want to do, it's amazing to be able to just get going, working some services online. Like you already have skills probably that you can make money online doing them, or ones that you can learn and be working and making money online really quickly. And it's nice because then you can build up your other stuff. So that's why I had my own agency grading online courses. Well, because I wasn't able to make a full-time income from my online courses, my programs, my passion, my baby project, right? So it was nice to work both of those until I was able to really fully make the transition into my own stuff. So that's one idea, because I know some people are like, I don't want to be a VA. Well, that's okay. Not everybody does, but maybe it can help you get to the thing that you really want to be doing. Other great resources, if you are looking to find online work, we love Remote Work Hub. I love Remote Like Me. I love Remotive.
These websites?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. We Work Remotely is great. And then Guava Bean is a cute new one. And they all post all kinds of legit online jobs if you are looking to work online or just at least kind of see what's out there.
Thank you. You've mentioned some things that I'm not even aware of, so that's very helpful. Thank you for sharing that. So, all right. Well, any parting words before we wrap up the interview?
I guess I just have said so many things, and I think that the biggest one that I want people to know is that, like, you mentioned, thanks for being so authentic and sharing so openly. But the reason that I do that, it wasn't always easy for me. It was hard when I first started telling our story and sharing the ugly parts of this journey. But the reason that I do it is because it's so important for me that people see not just that final picture of me sitting on the beach with my laptop in Bali, because I want everybody to know that you can do this. It is possible. Success is just It's right there. But you have to get clear on what you want it to look like for you. It might not look like what I have. It might not look like what's in that book you read or what's on Facebook right now. What is it for you? And then get clear on what the steps are that you need to take to get there. It can't be this like vague idea that I think I want to change careers or I think I want to start a business or wouldn't it be cool if we could do blah. Get really clear on what that looks like and then just freaking never give up. Just keep going. You don't quit until you win. Just keep going.
I love that. What an awesome note to end on. I do want to ask you, because you just said it, for those people who don't know what the exact steps are, and you've already given them permission that it's okay to not know the exact steps to achieve your goal, because I know you said get clear on what it is you want and then get clear on the steps to get to that what it is you want. What if they don't know the steps that are involved? What's your advice to them then?
Yeah, it's going to take some research and it's going to take taking some steps in one direction and then seeing what opens up next. So I always like to think of if you were hiking up a mountain and you have like a flashlight and it's dark out, you can only see the next steps that are in front of you, right? And like sometimes you might go in a different direction, but that's okay. You're still making your way up the mountain. And so and get a mentor. I mean, talk to me. I'm always happy to help point people in the right direction, but get somebody who's already walked that path before and can kind of help you illuminate what those next steps should be. You can figure it out probably on your own, but you're probably going to get there a lot faster if you can see, hey, this person, they did that thing that I want to do, and I am not able to figure it out based on my own research. I've tried, I've Googled, I've read the blogs, I've done the things. Maybe they have something for me that can help me take those steps in the right direction so that my life can look like how theirs looks, because that's what I want to be doing, right?
Right. Good sound advice. So how can our listeners connect with you?
So people are shocked that I respond to all of my messages myself. So connect with me on Instagram. It's Esther_Inman. Connect with me. Our Facebook page is Virtual Assistant Internship. We're there on Facebook. We have a big, massive Facebook group where we post legit online jobs every day. If you go to 90dayva.com, there's the free class is there. And when you register for that, you'll get our weekly emails that have all of our legit online jobs. And it kind of will share with you my Instagram and our Pinterest and all that other stuff too. So lots and lots of content. I just am kind of always answering questions on Instagram stories or in the Facebook group, or I'm very active because I know that this world is so full of scams and so full of junk that I have to be this like resounding voice of reality and of real good content and resources for people. And I'm happy to do that. So I would love to connect with anybody.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It has been my absolute pleasure, and I loved your story and advice, and I know that listeners will get so much value from this episode. So thank you so much, Esther.
Thank you for having me. All of you guys listening, never give up, keep going.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode on the SimoneMorris.com website, where you can find links to everything that was mentioned today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and tell a friend or two about it.